There is a version of you that must not survive the night, a version that pleads for comfort, that begs to be liked, that shivers when it's time to speak the truth. He scrolls instead of studies, complains instead of commands, reacts instead of reflects. This version is not a man. He is a slave to impulse, a slave to pleasure, a slave to weakness. And if you let him live, he will slowly murder everything noble within you. That quiet fire you once had, he'll smother it. That clarity you once felt, he'll drown it in noise. But there's another version of you, buried under the weight of habit, doubt, and fear, who is strong, still, dangerous, disciplined, and unshakable. The Stoics called him the inner citadel, the unbreakable fortress of character forged not in comfort, but in fire. Marcus Aurelius didn't just talk about this man, he became him through war, betrayal, grief, and chaos. And now it's your turn, not tomorrow, not next year, right now. Because if you keep protecting that weaker self, no one will ever meet the real you. And worse, you will never meet him either. So don't just watch this video. Let it challenge you. Let it scar you. Let it resurrect you. Because over the next few minutes, we're not just talking about self-improvement. We're performing a funeral for the version of you that should have died years ago. The soft one. The scared one. The one that never fought back. And if that death frightens you, good. Fear is the price of rebirth. Hit subscribe and stay till the very end. Because what you'll learn today will either wake something ancient inside you, or leave you behind with the rest of the broken. The war has already started. Welcome to the first strike. The man who clings to comfort is not alive. He is preserved like dead meat in salt, incapable of rotting only because he's already hollow. He confuses avoidance for peace, weakness for kindness, comfort for happiness. This man wakes up and negotiates with his alarm clock, snoozes through his purpose, and convinces himself that one more day of procrastination won't matter. But in Stoicism, there is no tolerance for this decay. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that life is war, not against others, but against his own lower nature. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, "I have to go to work." As a human being, he wrote. That is not poetry. That is war language. You were not born to coast. You were born to confront. And the first enemy is the soft, passive, impulsive creature that lives inside your skin, who reacts to every emotion like a puppet on strings. The Stoics called it the passions, not passion in the modern romantic sense, but the irrational storms of fear, anger, desire, and grief that tear men apart from the inside. A Stoic trains to feel them rise, and then crushes them before they gain control, because the weak man obeys those storms, but the strong man walks straight through them, untouched. You kill the weak man by starving him. That doesn't mean asceticism or self-punishment for the sake of pride. It means voluntary hardship, doing the thing you don't want to do because it needs to be done, waking up early when your body resists, speaking the truth when your voice shakes, going to war with yourself every hour of every day without applause or reward. Epictetus, born a slave, became one of the greatest Stoic minds not because he had power, but because he refused to be governed by anything outside of his reason. No man is free unless he is master of himself, he said. That is the core of what we are here to do, to master ourselves so completely that no insult, no loss, no rejection, and no temptation can shake the fortress of our mind. If someone disrespects you, you don't need to react. That's their poison, not yours. If something painful happens, you don't collapse. You absorb it like stone absorbs rain. This is what separates the Stoic from the spectator. He has killed the weak man so many times that now, when suffering knocks, he opens the door with silence and welcomes it like an old friend, because he knows pain doesn't break you, weakness does. But here's the twist most people don't understand. The weak man will not go quietly. He will fight back. Every time you try to rise early, he will whisper excuses. Every time you set a new boundary, he will beg you to bend. Every time you try to grow, he will fear annihilation. Because for him, your evolution is his execution. And that's the truth. To become the man you were meant to be, you must kill the man you've always been. There is no negotiation here. You don't manage weakness. You don't tame it. You destroy it. And when that weak voice screams in your mind, telling you to slow down, to give in, to stop caring, you must do exactly the opposite. That's Stoicism in action. The relentless pursuit of the higher self through fire, fatigue, and fear. And when the smoke clears, the man left standing is no longer soft. He is steel. He is still. He is unshakable. Now, what happens when this steel is tested by betrayal, chaos, and death itself? What happens when the real war begins, not inside you, but all around you? That's what we uncover in Chapter 2. Subscribe now, because the storm is coming, and only those who've killed the weak man will survive it. Killing the weak version of yourself is only the beginning. The real test starts when the world finds out you've changed. It doesn't applaud your transformation. It attacks it. The moment you begin walking the path of self-mastery, life will drag you into the arena and throw blood in your eyes. You will be betrayed by people you thought were loyal, ignored when you finally speak the truth, mocked for the very strength you bled to earn. And this is not a mistake. It's a mirror. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while losing his wife, burying children, and being surrounded by snakes in togas. And still, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." You don't become a Stoic in silence and solitude. You become a Stoic when chaos spits in your face, and you respond with calm so brutal it terrifies everyone in the room. The real battle is not you against you anymore. It's the new you against a world that misses the old, obedient, fragile version. The world wants you soft, and it will hate you for becoming solid. When you stop reacting emotionally, people will call you cold. When you stop explaining yourself, they'll say you've changed. And when you stop tolerating weakness in yourself and others, they'll say you're arrogant. That's the price of becoming untouchable. The Stoics didn't live for the approval of men. They lived for alignment with nature and reason. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That is the true crucifixion, not of flesh, but of ego. You will be misunderstood. You will lose people. You will walk alone. But that solitude is sacred. It's where your discipline sharpens, where your emotions dissolve, and where your philosophy either holds or collapses. When you walk through the storm of betrayal, the fake smiles and silent withdrawals, the sudden coldness of those you thought warm, and still remain calm, kind, and committed, then you understand why Stoicism is not a belief. It's a weapon. And not everyone deserves to hold it. You do not shout about your growth. You show it in how little their chaos touches you, in how deeply you trust your path without needing applause, and in how you answer cruelty not with weakness, but with silence that rattles their soul. But this fire must be maintained, because one small spark of ego, one hidden wound unhealed, one lazy day justified, and the weak man returns, this time cloaked in your new strength, whispering, "It's okay. You've earned rest. They don't understand you anyway. Lower your sword, just for now." And if you listen, even for a moment, your fortress becomes a prison. This is why we sharpen the blade daily. Because the world will not stop testing your patience, your clarity, your code. So now the question is this: when your closest people turn distant, when comfort tries to seduce you back, when victory makes you soft, how do you stay sharp in a world designed to dull you? That is the battlefield of the soul, and in Chapter 3, we walk into it, deeper than you've ever gone before. Subscribe now, because the next chapter is not for the faint of heart. It's for the few who are ready to become what no one dares to be. The sharpest blade isn't forged in flame. It's kept sharp through friction. The friction of habit, of discipline, of daily sacrifice that no one sees and no one praises. You must understand this. The world is not trying to destroy you. It is trying to soften you, and soft men break long before they shatter. The real threat is not failure, it's comfort. A warm bed, an easy excuse, a little pleasure here, a little distraction there. It sneaks in, silent, subtle, like rust on steel. One day you're disciplined, focused, unshakable. Then weeks later you find yourself lost in meaningless noise, sedated by entertainment, pleasing people you no longer respect, and betraying the code you once lived by. That's the war, not the dramatic collapse, but the slow erosion of your edge. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write in his journal to sound poetic. He did it to remember who he was in a world that wanted him to forget. You must build your life action by action, he said, and be content if each one achieves its goal as far as possible, and no one can keep you from this. In that one line, he gave us a weapon more powerful than motivation. He gave us precision, daily, intentional, unbreakable action. Every action you take either sharpens your edge or dulls it. Every conversation, every scroll, every word spoken from emotion instead of principle, it all costs you. And once you dull yourself enough, you start accepting things you used to reject. You tolerate disrespect. You blur your standards. You let fear guide your decisions and call it being careful. But the Stoic stays sharp by remembering the cost of comfort, because the edge you lose today might be the edge you need when life cuts deepest tomorrow. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." That suffering comes when the blade of your mind gets buried beneath layers of imagined futures and emotional noise. The Stoic clears this debris not once, but constantly, cutting away false obligations, fake friendships, and fears that never arrive. So here's the discipline. Wake up early, speak less, act more, say no often, suffer voluntarily, and remember your death daily. Because the man who remembers death lives on edge, not with anxiety, but with clarity. And clarity is the weapon the world fears most. But here's the truth that shakes most men. Sharpness isn't maintained once, it's demanded daily. And the moment you think you've arrived, the moment you think you're unshakable, the world will show you exactly how much of that was ego. So what happens when life strikes your deepest wound? What happens when the enemy is no longer comfort, but loss? In Chapter 4, we face the unthinkable, and you'll discover the Stoics' answer to grief, suffering, and death itself. Subscribe now, because what's coming next is the darkness you've been avoiding, and the strength you never knew you had.